This morning, as part of our Ideas That Matter series with TED, we're taking a closer look at the way many of us were feeling during the pandemic. Organizational psychologist Adam Grant noticed his behavior was changing as the months wore on. Now, he wasn't actually depressed, just feeling a little bit aimless and joyless. So like any good scientist, he did some research and figured out what was bothering him. Adam Grant joins us right now. Good morning, Adam. How are you doing?
Yay.
Morning, Nate. Go Lions.
Go Lions. That's what I'm talking about. All right. Now, you're helping us become lions in our own life, but I want to focus on a word that you brought up quite a bit, and that's languishing, a sense of emptiness and stagnation. You know, what's the difference between languishing and feeling depressed?
So I think the basic difference is when you're depressed, you feel hopeless. Whereas when you're languishing, you just sort of feel meh or blah. It's not necessarily the presence of mental illness, it's just the absence of peak mental health, as the sociologist Corey Keyes defined it. And I think so many of us have gone through this during the pandemic, right? We've kind of felt like we're in pandemic fog, like we're having trouble concentrating, and it's just feeling a little bit aimless and a little bit joyless.
Yeah, could we be languishing, Adam, and we're not even aware of it? Because you said we really need to rethink what it means, rethink our mental health and well-being. What do you mean by that?
Yeah. Well, Gayle, I think languishing might be the neglected middle child of mental health, and it's entirely possible that you're languishing right now and you didn't even notice because it's just sort of, eh.
Yeah, on your TED Talk, Adam, you give a great example. I've done that, where you're binge watching on bad TV, thinking, why am I even doing this? Yeah. What is wrong with me? But nobody wants to go through life feeling meh or blah.
No, have I seen this show before? I don't even remember. I think the challenge for so many of us is that the world around us has been stagnating, right? In the early days of the pandemic, it was acute anguish. Now it's much more chronic languish. And every time we have a new variant, it seems like we're going through the motions all over again. Yeah. And it's hard to have something to look forward to when you don't know where forward is.
All right, so Adam, we know now what languishing is and whether you've got it. How do you beat it?
Well, I don't know that it's always easy, but I think the first thing I would do is I would shift your attention away from the external circumstances and toward your inner emotions, right? A lot of people are saying, well, I've never been through a pandemic before. I'm not really sure what to do. And it is true. Unless you're 102 years old, you probably have not lived through a pandemic. And even then, I'm guessing you wouldn't remember it very well. If you focus instead on the internal state that you're experiencing, you know what? We have all languished before. I think most people had a whole semester of languishing in college. And if you think about those emotions and how you felt them in the past, sometimes you can learn lessons from your own resilience. What was it that got you through languishing last time, and how can you apply that today?
So for you, it was video games, one in particular, Super Mario Kart.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of teenagers in the room right now whose ears just perked up. And they're
a lot of 40-year-olds.
Yeah, a lot of 40-year-olds. Well, 40-year-olds can do what they want. But, teenagers, mom and dad might say, hey, less video games. So why did video games work for you? What was the key?
Well, this 40-year-old benefited a lot from them last year. My three kids were home in online school, and it was just hard to give them anything to look forward to. And we started playing Mario Kart online with my sister and brother-in-law. And all of a sudden, after a couple of weeks, I felt like I was languishing yet less. And I think some of it was the mastery, right? There's nothing like the sweet satisfaction of aiming a green shell for your brother-in-law to get hit by. Some of it was the mindfulness. I had to focus completely, otherwise I would lose. But most importantly, I felt like I could do something that mattered, right? I was able to give my kids something to look forward to when there wasn't really a lot to do.
Adam, I have to say, for anybody who hasn't seen your TED Talk, Run, Don't Walk, to see it, it's 16 minutes of your time well spent. You talk about toxic positivity. We don't have time for that. I want to end with this. So we're not feeling blah and meh. How do you want us to emerge from these challenging times? How can we emerge?
Well, I don't know that there's necessarily an easy answer, but I think one thing we've learned in psychology is that instead of seeking advice from other people, it's sometimes more helpful to give it. So I would say find somebody who's languishing, give them some suggestions, and the advice you give is probably the advice you needed to take.
I like that.
Yeah,
that's good.
Not bad. Not bad.
Adam Grant, you never disappoint. Thank you so much. Really good to see you this morning.